morning. Welcome to our episode of Our Time. I'm Sarata, and today we have guest professor Helmut Norpoth and Elvis Kreppy. How are you guys today?
Good, very good.
Okay, so first I'd like to ask you how you feel about the recent elections that came up this week.
I think it was, a lot of it was expected. I think the Republican loss of seats in the House, including the majority, was something that was coming. I think in particular because the president had an approval rating that was below 50%.
Right.
And historically, at least for the last sort of 80 years since we have approval ratings like this, if you're below 50%, your party in this type of election loses roughly an average of 40 seats. So the Democrats making that gain, getting a majority, I think was something that I would say quite expected. The Senate is different because you only have a certain number of Senate seats, and there it depends very much on what kind of states are in play, whether they're generally Republican or Democratic states. That would help a lot, a Republican to retain the seat, and even Democrats to retain the seat in this kind of an election.
Okay, and what are your...
So first off, I would like to congratulate all the candidates that ran in this past midterm elections. There's so many firsts, especially with the House of Representatives. A lot of firsts with a lot of women of color, people of color running, a lot of women running and securing seats in the House. The House is a bit more diverse now, and it's just very remarkable to see that. And my outcomes was that it's very great that Democrats were able to secure the House of Representatives, and now it's a time to push for policy that people voted on these people for, the people that won that voted on these people. So my outcomes are pretty optimistic.
So would you guys say that there was anything that shocked you during the elections? Anything that you expected to happen? I know you mentioned earlier about the predictions. They were really close tied, with Democrats outrunning Republicans in the House of Representatives. So any shockers?
Well, not quite a shocker, but I thought the expectation was that Missouri and Indiana would be a lot closer.
Okay.
In fact, there was considerable hope among Democrats that they would be able to hold on, and that didn't happen. I mean, they were pretty decisive. I mean, those. I also thought that Florida would be, that the Democrats would be doing better in Florida at the governor's race and the Senate race. I think that was sort of predicted too, although I mean it wasn't all that much, and I think that that was a little sort of against expectation.
Well, when we go back to Florida, interestingly enough, in the newsroom, we just saw the governor's, is it the governor's race? The governor of the Senate race with Rick Scott, the Senate race with Rick Scott, and how it was 50.1 to 49.9 right now. And that's just really just shows how this this political divide that's going on in this country just extends within a state like Florida. And that is pretty shocking, you know, especially with all the rhetoric that's been coming out, that especially recently with all this migrant caravan stuff, and you know, it's just shocking to me how you have such a closeness in a race and a contest. Well, Florida's always been that state that's been like a very contested state. So it's just interesting enough how like the population of people that are voting for each party in those states.
Going on to what you said, in the Texas Senate race, Beto O'Rourke came really close to a Democrat victory. So do you think this is like a political landscape bringing us closer to a democracy, especially in Texas?
Well, yeah, so Beto O'Rourke was around 48% victory, especially in Texas, which is a historically red state. In 2014, 60 or 20, like the last Senate race, 60%, over 60% of people voted for Republican Senate. And just seeing how like this shift in Texas, a historically red state, is going towards Democrats. It's just a showcasing of how, well, one, increasing of voter turnout, especially with young people, and also people's thoughts on the current administration. Definitely, it was, to me, Texas was a very close. I feel like a lot of people would say that Beto's 48% would be considered a loss, but I don't consider it a loss at all. I think 48% of Texas, getting 48% of a vote in Texas as a Democrat is a very challenging thing to do.
And what impact do you think that these midterm elections are going to have on race and education in America separately?
Well, I think you'd have to look at, in terms of education, probably at the state level, because the federal government in education, I mean, it has a role, but it's not the biggest player in education. In terms of race, I think, I mean, we don't know yet exactly what's happening in Florida and Georgia, and it could be that, I mean, we have a black female governor in Georgia and a black governor in Florida. I think some people hoped that, well, expected that if Andrew Gillum would win would win Florida, that he would be on the stage for a presidential run. And same with Beto O'Rourke. And some people say, even, as you said, even if he lost because he did so well, relatively speaking, compared to all the other Democrats in the past, that he also might have helped himself to launch a presidential career.
Right.
Yeah, with me, like I said previously, like there's been so many women of color and so many, like Colorado having its first openly gay governor, first Somali House Representative, first Native American. There's just been so many firsts coming out of this House race and these races that are in general, and it really shows how the landscape of the House of Representatives are shifting from, you know, a lot of people that feel like they're underrepresented in this country, running for office, trying to get a sense of like that we matter, that we, like, our race matters, especially with African Americans who definitely feel that they're unrepresented in this country, and a lot of minorities that are pushing to gain office, and a lot of them were victorious, and that just shows that this country is shifting.
It is. We're about to run out of time, so do you guys have any final thoughts?
Well, to add on to that, I think it was very, not a shock, but a very pleasant result that voting turnout was extremely high in this election. People sort of hoped for that, expected that, but the numbers are staggering. I think it's over 110 million. It's a big jump from the last midterm, and it's supposedly one of the highest in midterm elections, so that something is going on. Something is moving in this country.
Yes. My final thoughts is that as a college student, seeing all my friends just posting to people to go out to vote, seeing them posting their stickers, seeing them posting on Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, go out and vote, it's like never seen that, like never seen as much enthusiasm to go out and vote.
Yeah.
And it's just great, and I just want people to keep that same energy, because we can't slow down.
All right. That's all for today. Tune into our next show next week. Thank you, Professor Norpoth and Elvis Creffy. Have a good one.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.